What's good, YouTube? County Gains back here again. It's been a minute since I've said that, but we got a banger today. So this one's called Why Nobody Wants to Live in Europe's Richest Country. And he's talking about Ireland, guys. All right, now I'm over here living in Dublin right now. I'm actually from Galway. I'm just up here for the week for a wedding. But no better man to react to why nobody wants to live in Ireland than the man himself. I'm pretty much one of the only people left that I know in Ireland. You know, apart, like every single one of my friends have left this country. To those that live in Germany, Europe, Asia, who happen to care, Irish people are insanely mad for immigrating, guys. We love to immigrate, especially in our 20s, our 30s. We love to bounce. As soon as we get our leaving cert, our college degree, bounce. Not me personally. I never actually went anywhere, guys. I've been working on this YouTube channel. I've been working on fitness. I've been working on a few different things, college as well. As soon as I finished college, I got a few different sales jobs. So I'm a little bit different than the average person. I definitely am the average person, I think, in my own eyes, in a lot of different ways. My sheer tenacity to become absolutely massive on this platform. But this one should be crazy, guys, because I know a lot of Americans want to know why the hell people are leaving Ireland. And there's a lot of craziness going on nowadays. So all will be explained in this video. Hit that subscribe button if you want to support me. Leave a comment down below, my beautiful American, Canadian, Indian, Cambodian, all my subscriber base. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of Ireland. And let's get it, baby. Let's go.
For centuries, Ireland was always one of the poorest countries in Europe. But then something happened and the Irish economy exploded.
Yep.
And today, Ireland is one of the wealthiest nations in the world, richer than countries like Switzerland, Qatar, or Kuwait. By all accounts, Ireland is doing amazing. Except that not everyone in Ireland seems to agree. In fact, 70% of young people are considering leaving the country, and mainly because of the economic situation. But
I would argue, I just recently turned 28. I don't want to be pausing this video too much, but it's because of the weather. We've had kind of a terrible summer as well. I want to move somewhere for the summer, or at least for the winter, where the weather is kind of good, and then come back and forth. I'd never leave Ireland personally. I lived here my whole life, so don't want to leave here for too long, but definitely immigrate somewhere that's nice, just for the weather for a few months out of the year, guys. That's what I want to achieve by doing this YouTube channel.
But how is that possible? Why should citizens of one of the wealthiest countries be so unhappy with the economy? Well, not everything about Ireland's economic success is how it...
That's literally just down the road from me. That's in Dunleary. I'm in Dunleary right now. That's literally just down the road from me. That's gas.
Seems. The reality looks a lot less pretty than from the outside. And once you dig beneath the surface, the Irish success story starts to fall apart pretty quickly. This is the dark side of Ireland's economic miracle.
Well, it's just the weather that's shite. That's all, guys. Everything else is savage crack here. But if the weather was here, oh man, we'd have the best country in the world. Bring on global warming.
Just a little bit of context behind how did we get here. Basically, for most of its history, Ireland had exactly the opposite reputation that it has today. Both as part of the UK and after it became independent, it was a poor country with mostly an agrarian and underdeveloped economy, dependent on trade with the UK, and with a strong tradition of people trying to escape poverty by leaving the country, which wasn't helping the economy either. And it didn't get much better as time went on. In the late 1980s, Ireland was still one of the poorest Western European countries.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Like, living here in Ireland kind of sucks because, my dad immigrated in the 80s as well, abroad. So, living here now, we've had a bigger recession in 2023 than we do in the 80s. So I understand why people are leaving, guys. So, farewell to all you guys, but hopefully, if you stayed, you'll have a good base here.
But then, it finally found its secret sauce. By then, Ireland was a member of the EU, a bloc of countries sharing one single market, where, as a company, you can sell to all the member states, but you only have to pay taxes in one of them. And Ireland made a bet that this is the best way to turn their economy around, to become a hub where all the foreign companies coming to do business in the EU will have their official residence, and allow Ireland to collect a small portion of their European-wide profits. To do that, it introduced a combination of low taxes and economic...
Yeah, so the low taxes, the normal tax rate is like 40% in America and stuff, and I think the tax rate here now, if my business degree doesn't fail me, is 12.5%.
Subsidies. And soon after, the bet started to pay off. Major US companies like Dell, Microsoft, and others started choosing Ireland as their official European residence. Not because it would be an important market, but because they saved a lot of money on taxes. And the taxes that Ireland was able to collect launched a boom that the Irish economy has never seen before. In the 1990s and 2000s, it was growing just as fast as economies like Singapore or South Korea, and so it became known as the Celtic Tiger. In 2008,
It's not Celtic Tiger, it's a Celtic it's a cuss sound.
Ireland was hit hard by the global economic crisis, and the Irish response was to double down on this strategy. Low taxes became almost zero taxes, and Ireland basically became a global tax haven. It wasn't just a European HQ anymore. The conditions were so good that many US companies started taxing their entire global profits in Ireland, where they paid next to nothing, and Ireland still got a very small slice of a gigantic pie. And it emerged from the crisis as a Celtic phoenix, growing faster than ever before and outperforming virtually everyone. Unlike for most of its history, Ireland's population was now growing as people didn't leave anymore, but instead, many highly paid tech workers were arriving to work for the big tech. And Ireland enjoyed its reputation as the new European Silicon Valley and an economic miracle.
That's fun, you know, even my girlfriend, she works in IT. I've worked in IT as well before, like sales, that type of thing. So PayPal, you know, and you know, I do this full time now, but the online sector here is huge, guys. You know, when I see, like, nobody's doing YouTube. One of the biggest sectors that's untapped in Ireland is YouTube, Google, Twitter, like all these different pages. Whereas the IT sector is completely saturated now. But the YouTube sector in Ireland and this kind of thing, although you're competing with people elsewhere, nobody does it here in Ireland, so it's kind of a free reign, you know. It's, you know, good to get your base here anyway.
But here comes the paradox. If it's doing so well, then why do so many people want to leave? Well, while the whole Irish success story looks amazing on the surface, at a closer look, it starts to unravel pretty quickly.
Oh, here we go, guys. Housing. €4,000 per month.
So here's what's going on. Last year, a survey showed that 7 out of 10 Irish people between 18 to 24 are considering permanently leaving the country because they are not happy with the quality of life. A big reason is that for a few years now, Ireland has been dealing with a notoriously bad housing crisis.
Never go to Dublin. Although I love Dublin, I live in the countryside. Super nice, safe, chill, do my videos, hang out, you know, great weather. Dublin is like a freaking hellhole of heroin addicts and drug dealers. I'm just playing, guys. You guys know I love you. As Eminem says, I love Dublin. I'm in Dublin right now, but it's terrible.
And while it is not alone in that, the Irish situation is especially bad. The thing is that Ireland has a particularly bad combination of government policies. It makes it very hard for developers to build any kind of dense urban housing, and it makes it very easy for anyone to object and stop it from being built. As a result, Ireland has a critical shortage of housing, which naturally means that housing is either unaffordable or completely inaccessible for most people. A year ago, only 851 rental properties were listed in the entire country of 5.1 million people.
Yeah, guys, 851 is an overstatement. Right now in the west of Ireland, there's 6 homes to rent. 6, guys. 6. On average.
Resulting in bizarre scenes like this one when hundreds of people queued on the street in Dublin trying to get a viewing of an apartment available for rent. But despite the fact that the housing crisis has been going on for several years by now, and despite numerous protests and promises, the government has not really been able to do anything about it. But
see, the problem with Ireland as well is, like, we keep bringing, like, we have the EU as well, which brings in just like loads of people. Everyone can just freely move around, but nobody wants to come to Ireland because there's no housing. You know, we'd have loads of Brazilian people. I have lots of Brazilian friends, and they just hate Ireland because they can never find housing. You know, it's crazy.
But housing is really just one example of a wider problem, and that's the fact that Ireland is in many ways a surprisingly badly managed country.
That's Galway, guys, my beautiful Galway. The cathedral, the West End, well, it's a little bit closer now to Newcastle side, but the West End of Ireland. Oh, my beautiful Galway.
That's failing at building basic infrastructure and managing key public services. For years, Ireland has struggled to build roads and
That's out near the Cliffs of Moher.
energy infrastructure, and its national healthcare system is in a perpetual crisis, as it is constantly massively overcrowded, underfunded, and its doctors are running away to other English-speaking countries.
Literally, if you get sick in Ireland, you're screwed, guys. You know, might as well just flip and hop into the coffin.
Now, of course, Ireland is not the only country struggling with these issues, but it's just a very surprising contrast between Ireland's economic record and a glowing reputation and the reality on the ground. So how come that Ireland has such a fantastic record on paper, but the reality doesn't seem to live up to it? Well, the explanation of this paradox might be that Ireland is not actually really that wealthy at all, and the whole Irish miracle is not actually real. So let's explain. Obviously, Ireland has an extremely high GDP per capita, which is by far the most commonly used indicator for how a country is doing economically. And looking at that number only, it really does seem
That's my beautiful Galway right there, the Shop Street, West End. But they're talking about the GDP. Ireland is really high. I'd beg to differ, guys. I don't think the GDP is that high.
like the Irish economy is miles ahead of everyone else. Except that if we look at different statistics, things start to pretty quickly look kinda off. For example, it has quite a high average salary, but it's not nearly as high as it should be, considering its GDP. The Irish average salary is lower than in most Scandinavian countries, and similar to an average salary in countries like Netherlands, Belgium, or Austria. Except that the GDP
The average GDP, or the average salary in America is $77,000. Jeez.
per capita of these countries is barely half that of Ireland's, and other statistics show a similar trend. The household disposable income, which is measuring basically how much money do people actually have at their disposal, puts Ireland on the 17th place, below the average of the European Union. In other words, there is a big gap between data showing how wealthy Ireland is and how wealthy the people actually are. But why? Well, according to a theory, widely recognized by many economists as accurate, but furiously disputed by the Irish government, Ireland is nowhere near as rich as it seems to be on paper, and the Irish GDP statistics are massively inflated, to such an extent that they do not actually reflect reality. And that's because Ireland's GDP is driven mostly by global corporations moving their profits to Ireland. Profits that were not made in Ireland by companies that are not Irish and that are taken out of the country without actually ever entering the Irish economy.
Yeah, see, so the money's just being circulated here. It's not actually being spent really in Ireland.
This has been called Leprechaun economics, an economy where the country's GDP says absolutely nothing about how wealthy the country actually is, or isn't. And in reality, Ireland could be hardly called a wealthy country. Instead, the result of Ireland's particular economic model could be called a tale of two Irelands, one rich and one poor. Although it might seem like it from the GDP statistics, the average Irish person doesn't work as a software developer for Google.
That's very true, guys.
Companies only employ a tiny fraction of the Irish workforce, and instead, they rely on highly qualified workers that came to Ireland from abroad.
So yeah, basically, guys, there's a lot of Indian people here, and it's great. I love all these people, guys, before anyone starts saying all this crazy shit in the comments. But they don't hire Irish people, guys. They hire people from India, Canada, wherever, guys, America. They just hire people from outside because it's just like cheaper or whatever the case, you know, or just better qualified, you know what I mean, than Irish people as well. So, you know, it is what it is, guys.
Highly paid workers help to inflate the prices, but most people work in the domestic Irish economy that has nothing to do with the big tech, and they make way less money. But while the rich Ireland gets the attention, the poor Ireland, which is mostly out of sight, is what actually portrays the daily reality of most people. And the magical accounting also hides a lot of flaws in the Irish economy that would be otherwise immediately visible, and that are, well, concerning. Ireland, for example, has one of the highest national debts in the world. But because a national debt is usually reported in relation to a country's GDP, and because Ireland has an insanely high GDP, this goes unnoticed. So on the surface, it looks like Ireland is managing it really well, but put the GDP aside, and suddenly you'll see that it's not good at all. The economist Aaron Levinstein once said that statistics are like bikinis. What they reveal is suggestive, but what they conceal is vital. And while so far Ireland has been able to conceal the true nature of its so-called economic miracle, it might not last much longer. The fight against...
It's not, guys. We're already in a recession, so 2023 was the first year of recession. Nice video to break it down, explain with Dom. Dom, don't be a sucker and uncopyright this video. I love you guys all. Tell me in the comments down below, like literally Europe and Ireland used to be one of Europe's best places ever to live, but now it's just horrendous, guys. You know, expensive place. Everything is so expensive here as well. It's outrageous. About 6 months ago, inflation hit. One of the most expensive countries in the world, they said. So don't come here, you know, unless you're like a brain surgeon or like if you're earning a shitload of money, because you won't get any good jobs here. It's unbelievable. I love you guys all. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.